Hey, it's Mike Lynch with AmeriFirst Financial. It's the week of April the 4th, and it's time for your Monday mortgage update. So we're going to talk about what happened this weekend, talk about what happened last week, and what's going to happen in the market this week. So I hope you all had a great weekend. I had a fantastic weekend. Got to see my parents this weekend, but also it was the start of the Bigfoot Mountain Bike Challenge. And what is the Bigfoot Mountain Bike Challenge? It's a local event that lasts for 2 months from April 1st to the end of May. And it's a great way for anybody that wants to get out on the amazing mountain bike trails that we have in Northern California to explore those, to learn new trails. You go to this website that I put on the screen here, you fill out this passport, it's self-paced, and you check the boxes on the routes that you pick and the routes that you complete. And there's a beginner section, there's an intermediate, and there's advanced. So no matter what level of riding you are, you can find great trails in Northern California. Once you finish whatever section you want to finish, or all of them, you get entered into a contest and you win some swag, some pretty cool stuff. The challenge is a great community event. Again, it's free and it supports a lot of great local organizations, a lot of support from local businesses that really understand how important maintaining and keeping these trails up. Rating Trail Alliance is the main force behind this. So check it out. Let me know what you think, and I hope I see you out on the trail. So let's talk about what happened last week. Last week actually was a pretty heavy week as far as economic news that came out. Unemployment was down, our inflation was up, and many jobs were added. So all of those things are bad for rates, but rates actually didn't get worse. They ended flat. They ended the same way they started, which is a real shift from what we've seen over the last month, where rates just consistently have been going up. And the two things that caused it to stay flat were the issues in Ukraine and the global disruptions that causing, and then supply chain disruptions still happening. We still can't get the stuff we need. Businesses can't get the stuff they need to make the stuff they want so that consumers can buy it. And so it ended the week flat. So what are we looking at this week? Really two things: a recession and the Fed. So let's talk about recession. I've been talking about this for quite some time, that it's coming. We don't know when it's going to happen, but we know it's coming. Some estimate maybe in 2023, 2024. But there's some indications that maybe it's going to happen sooner than later. There's a lot of things that we can look at that indicate a recession is coming, but the three things that are on the horizon now, which is causing the media to really talk about this stuff, is an inverted yield curve. The consumer confidence is down, and unemployment's very low. So we know unemployment 3.6% last week. It's a very low number. And then consumer sentiment, the Michigan Consumer Sentiment Report came out in March, which really is a measure of how confident the consumers feel about the future of our economy. And it was down. It was down quite a bit, actually, a reversal from the numbers in December where consumer confidence was up. So that's an indication. And then the big one is the inverted yield curve. So think about this. If you put your money in the 10-year Treasury, if you're going to hold that money for 10 years, you expect to get a decent rate of return, at least a better return than if you put it in the 2-year Treasury. Well, now we're seeing the return on the 2-year actually better than the return on the 10-year. So let's go to a graph here so I can show you what this looks like. This is a graph that shows the inverted yield curve. So that red dotted line is the inversion layer. And anytime you see the blue line above that, that means the 2-year is giving a better return than the 10-year. And every time we've seen this, we typically see a recession follow. Every time we see this inverted yield curve, Y2K, which is where my cursor is, a recession followed. The big housing crisis recession at 8 and 9, we saw a recession follow. We had a recession in 2019, and then we also are seeing that inverted yield curve now. Now, anytime we've seen this over the last 40 years, we typically see a recession follow in 6 to 18 months. So they say it's a fool's game to try to predict when a recession is going to come. It's very difficult to do that. But at least we can say it's probably going to happen in a range of time. And again, we're starting to see some indications that it is coming. Now, this is not great for the economy, obviously, but actually for the housing market, it may not be bad. Typically, we've seen in a recession, we've seen housing prices level off to actually improve, and we see rates get better. The only time we didn't see this is the big Great Recession in 8, 9, and 10 that was caused by the housing market, by the bad loans that were financed. So the other recessions were caused directly by the housing market. So that 8, 9, and 10 recession was kind of an anomaly historically. So the second thing we're going to talk about is the Fed. As we know, the Fed raised the Fed funding rate 0.25% 2 weeks ago, and they indicated that they're going to raise it 6 more times for the rest of this year, every Fed meeting. The question is, are they going to raise it 0.5 point, 1/4 point, 0.5 point? Who knows? So the Fed minutes to that Fed meeting 2 weeks ago are coming out on Wednesday, and every time the Fed minutes come out, we typically see mortgage rates go up. And we're going to be looking at 2 things. Obviously, what the Fed's going to do with those rates. And then the second thing we're going to be looking at is tightening of the balance sheet. So we know the Fed is not financing or putting money into the bond market anymore. They stopped that in March, but they still are reinvesting in the back end of the bond market. Well, if they tighten that balance sheet, that means they're going to slow down or stop that reinvestment. And that has a big indication of moving rates higher. So when those meetings come out, when the minutes of those meetings come out Wednesday, they're going to indicate what they're going to do on tightening their balance sheet. So we're going to be watching that very closely. If you have any questions about rates moving forward this week, go ahead and give me a call or send me a message. My information is down below. If you have any clients that need any advice, I'd be more than happy to help them. Have a productive week, and we'll talk to you next week. Bye-bye.